All right, so maybe you're thinking about moving to Northern Virginia and you're wondering what are all the pros and cons of living here in Northern Virginia. Well, you know what? I have lived here my whole life, so who better than me to tell you what are the pros and cons are of living here in Northern Virginia. So let's just get right into the video. Probably the biggest pro and the reason you're most likely watching this video is going to be the job market here, right? We have one of the strongest job markets in the United States. You, of course, have the Department of Defense, which is the largest employer in the world with all the defense contractors that go along with it. And then we obviously have the brand new Amazon headquarters located in Arlington. And then companies like Nestle, Boeing, Raytheon have also moved their headquarters here. And the salaries are way above the national average here in Prince William, Loudoun, Fairfax, Arlington, and Alexandria. So probably my biggest pro is going to be the job market. And like I've always said in all my videos, if the DC area goes down, the rest of the country and the world pretty much are going down with us. All right, number two, my second biggest pro is that it's super close to DC. That's again why it's such an affluent area. So you have DC with all the jobs there, then of course all the museums, so many things to do. And then the proximity to DC allows so many more jobs. And then we also of course have the metro system that goes all the way out to Loudoun County, Fairfax and Vienna, all throughout Tyson's Corner, Ruston, Arlington, Alexandria, that flows right through DC and goes through Maryland. So we're super close to DC, which allows if you're a government worker or maybe you work remotely and you only have to go to work once a week into the White House area, the DC area. Of course, that is another huge pro, which always is just going to bring a lot of jobs. And recently, the federal government the last few years has said, look, if you're going to have your company do business with the federal government, you're more than likely going to need to be headquartered here in the Washington, DC area. And that is definitely huge for our area. So proximity to DC is definitely huge. I would say another thing here with a huge pro is we have two large airports, technically three if you were to consider BWI Airport. We have Dallas International Airport located in Loudoun County. That airport is a little bit harder to navigate. You like go to the terminal, then you got to ride these little tram things. It's a little outdated. They have done some updating, but it's got a lot more to go. Then right in Arlington, and kind of the reason why Amazon chose Arlington as its second headquarters is you have National Airport, which is actually, I think, getting busier now than Dallas Airport is. So National is conveniently located right next to DC. That is really popular with airlines like JetBlue, United, American. Most people, honestly, at this point now fly right into National, so it's easy if you have family coming to town. And then Manassas Airport is where like all the private jets end up going. After 9/11, they kind of changed all the rules on that. But Manassas is trying to get air travel there. There's a plan to build a $125 million terminal there by a company named Avport, but that's going to be a long way down the road. I don't know how much I would count on that because there's just a lot of things they go through. So potentially we could have three airports just in Northern Virginia alone. And then of course you tie in BWI, which is another popular airline with Southwest, which is always an option. So three major airports in the area is a huge pro. Number four pro, probably my specialty, housing. There are plenty of housing options in Northern Virginia. You can get a condo anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 to a condo in Arlington or Ruston Town Center for millions of dollars, or maybe even going to DC and get a condo at the Ritz in Georgetown for $10 million. Then of course we have townhouses where typically will be about 3 levels and they can go anywhere depending on location from $300,000 all the way up into the millions over in Ashburn. It depends on where you're at, but there are definitely plenty of housing options. And of course, we have so many different single families from Ramblers to 3-level colonials. So just all kinds of pricing options. Prices around here can get really pricey though. I will tell you that if you want to go a little bit further out and not have so much pricing, maybe you're working from home, you might want to check out like a Winchester, Virginia, Front Royal, Spotsylvania, or Culpeper County. But there are just so many different housing options. So just keep in mind, the closer that you get into Washington, DC, the more money it is going to be on your housing. So that is definitely what I tell people to look for. And then also if it's closer to maybe like an Ashburn or a Ruston where people can walk around, or maybe even a Manassas area, it gets a lot more expensive. Then of course Arlington and Alexandria are super expensive. Probably the most expensive area is going to be McLean, Virginia, but definitely all kinds of different housing options. And by the way, I'm a real estate agent expert here in Northern Virginia. If you're thinking about buying or selling, text me at 571-437-7575. Let's keep going into the pros and cons of Northern Virginia. Another pro is I've seen a lot of clients move out of the area and they always end up coming back and they say, you know what, there's some really great people here. It's a really good sense of community in Northern Virginia. I feel that a lot. It's a lot of like, younger families that move in and out of here. And I really like the people, the diversity here. It's just a great location, really nice people to hang out with, plenty to do around here as well, which is a huge pro. You have places like Jiffy Lube Live to all the hiking in the area like Luray to Shenandoah County. And then you have so many wineries and breweries, and of course all the museums. Some of them are even located here in Northern Virginia, like the Air and Space Museum over by Dallas Airport. So just so many great people, so many different things to do. And a lot of the schools here are brand new, like these huge $100 million high schools and things like that because of all the growth that is happening around here. Just plenty of popular school systems and things like that. But the people here are really great. And I hear it all the time when people move away, they end up saying, you know what, I miss the sense of community from Northern Virginia. I miss the nice people from Northern Virginia. I definitely hear that a lot. And to me, that is a huge pro. All right, so let's talk about the cons. And by the way, if you haven't already, definitely subscribe to my channel. I have a goal of getting to 10,000 subscribers. I don't know why I just said it like a game show host, but let's talk about the number one con, which you're gonna hear all the time about the DC area, is traffic. They've tried and tried. They're just constantly building roads, adding hot lanes, all kinds of different things. Of course, the problem is the metro system. For them to extend it is just so expensive. So the traffic here is one of the worst in the country. It's gotten just a tad bit better, like Route 66 or I-66. They added in all these hot lanes. They're doing the same thing on Interstate 95 as well, but the Beltway and inside of DC is a nightmare. And then on some of these hot lanes, they can be really expensive. One time I was driving from Arlington all the way to Haymarket, and it probably would have taken me like 2 hours in traffic, and I used the hot lanes and it took me 25 minutes, but it cost me $50. But to me, it was worth the $50 because I was actually in a huge rush for an appointment. So you can use things like that, but definitely just keep that in mind. I tell people all the time, look, if you're looking to move out here, don't just go on Google Maps on a Saturday and be like, oh, look, it's only a 20-minute drive into DC. You got to drive the actual commute. So maybe drive out to a certain area like Leesburg, wherever you're going to be working, and then drive from there into DC during that actual traffic time, and you can see how actually bad it is. And a lot of the companies too, they'll tell you, oh, maybe you can work from home 3 days a week or just come to the city 2 days a week. That's something that a lot of my clients do, but definitely keep that huge con in mind. Another con is obviously what you can tell, and I'm into housing, it is really expensive around here. It's probably one of the more expensive areas in the United States. Like an area like Leesburg, their average or median sales price is $750,000. Arlington's about the same. Fairfax is around $700,000 as well. And then Prince William County is a little bit more cheaper, around like $550,000. And of course, Alexandria is super expensive as well. But it is just a really expensive area to live in. In general, though, I tell people the housing prices around here through history have gone up anywhere from 3 to 5%, but even the rent is expensive. I had someone the other day that wanted to sell, and they said, you know what, maybe we're gonna go ahead and just rent. And then they ended up figuring out that the rent was more than their mortgage payment for a smaller house, and they were over in the Fredericksburg area. So definitely keep that in mind. And we also have this really expensive car tax, like my truck, which isn't like a crazy truck, but I pay like $1,500 a year to the state of Virginia and a huge car tax. So definitely keep that in mind. Another con is, of course, this doesn't apply to me, but it's not very, it's just like not a very walkable area unless you live in like Arlington or Alexandria. Those are the only places you really wouldn't need a car. You could get away with it maybe in like the Reston Town Center area and also Ashburn if you wanted to use the metro or Ubers a lot, but it is just not a walkable area. You will definitely need a car to get around anywhere. A lot of the websites now have walking scores, and of course we can definitely give you advice on that. More than likely though, you are going to need a car to get anywhere here in Northern Virginia. Probably a con that you won't hear people talk about is there's really not like a local restaurant feel or anything like that. Around here, mostly everything is going to be chain stores, like your typical, Ruby Tuesdays, TGI Fridays. We also have a lot of high-end chain store restaurants like that. We just don't really have a big mom and pop feel. It depends on what you're into. We also, like a lot of these restaurants actually aren't that bad, but like the grocery stores are gonna be like Wegmans, Trader Joe's, all these big conglomerates, but not a lot of local mom and pop things. But I will tell you there's a lot of farmer markets and things like that in their area that you can go to. But again, like restaurant wise, just not like a huge good food scene here. Probably a little bit more in DC and the city, but Northern Virginia, that can definitely be a huge con. Another con that I will tell you about is the weather here. Like right now, this summer has been extremely brutal. It's been in the hundreds, 95. It gets really humid here in July and August. A lot of people go away to the beach, which is still hot anyways in Outer Banks, North Carolina, or in the winter, we can get a little bit of snow, but it's not that bad. Sometimes people will call me from Florida and they'll say, hey, do you guys get blizzards? Rarely ever do we get anything like that. And if we do, everything shuts down and people go crazy and the school shut down, but we don't get a lot of snow, but it can get pretty cold. So extreme weather here can be a huge con. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this quick video of the pros and cons cons of living in Northern Virginia. If you do live here or you are from Northern Virginia, definitely comment below. I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Am I spot on or am I wrong? Sometimes I love when everyone argues with me and then everyone agrees with me. It all depends on how the video goes. And like I said, if you're thinking about moving here, definitely shoot us a message, info@colganteam.com. I work with so many people from this YouTube channel. Would love to be your agent of choice. Lived here my whole life, and my team and I, we know the area well. And please hit the subscribe button. I'm pretty much begging you at this point because I want to blow up this video into the YouTube algorithm, like they say. So as always, I'll see you guys at the top or from the top.